All right, this is a video for chapter 24 of Ecce Romani, looking at the perfect tense system, in particular the pluperfect and the future perfect tenses, how they're formed, how they are translated. So the first thing that we're going to cover, since they're both formed essentially the same way, they're formed using the third principal part of a verb. So if we can look at our friendly favorite here, amo, amare, amawi, amatum. We're taking the third principal part, amawi. We are amawi. We're getting rid of this long I here. So we're just going to have amav. And onto that, we can add our endings. And the personal endings for the future perfect and for the pluperfect are actually very straightforward if you know the imperfect and the future forms of the verb to be. So we'll start off with the pluperfect, which are exactly the same as the imperfect of the verb to be. So we have eram, eros, eros, erat, eramus, eratis, erant. So these are just added on to that, what we'll call the perfect stem of amav. So we have amaveram, amaveras, amaverat, amaveramus, amaveratis, amaverant. It's that simple. When we're looking at future perfect, it's going to be almost as simple, but of course not quite. We're going to have the future of the verb to be mostly. So we're going to have ero, eris, erit, erimus, eritis. And then here you'd normally have erunt, but we're going to have errant. So the I there is what stands out as being different. And be careful, because if that trips you up, it changes the tense entirely. So that I there is going to be super important for you when we learn the perfect tense. So these, once again, are just added right on to our perfect stem, amav. So we have amawero, amaweris, amawerit, amawerimus, amaweritis, amawerint. Once again, that's simple. When we are looking to translate these, that's where maybe it gets a little bit more difficult for us. So the pluperfect, pluperf, is, we can think of as more than perfect, which means that it's something that's paster than the past. It refers to an action that happened before something else in the past took place. So an example that your book gives that's great is the story in chapter 24 is in the past, and Marcus, before that past story, had seen the Circus Maximus. So we'll say had seen is a good example of a translation if we had the pluperfect of the verb to see. So this word had is going to be operative there in our English translations. So the future perfect is referring to something happening in the future prior to something else happening in the future. So that's confusing. The way we translate it is pretty straightforward. We'll say, for example, you will have watched this entire video before you come to class. So you coming to class is a future thing. You will have watched this whole video prior to that future thing. But you watching it, the whole thing, is still something that's in the future. So in that sense, it's future perfect. This is going to be the operative phrase that we're going to see when we're translating future perfect into English is will have. So the joyous thing about both the future perfect and the pluperfect tenses is formation is the same for every single conjugation. So all conjugations form the same way, which is, as you know, not a luxury you are often afforded. So just to recap verbally real quick, you take your third principal part, you drop the long I at the end, which forms your perfect stem, and onto that you add your personal endings, which are, in the case of the pluperfect, exactly the same as the imperfect form of the verb to be, and in the case of the future perfect, they're almost exactly the case, with the exception of the third person plural. That's the big takeaway here. So if you want to review those forms, I hope you go back earlier in the video. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, evening, or morning, and I'll see you in class. Thanks. Bye.